Conference in anticipation of our highly touted event that's going down right here at Madison Square Garden on Saturday night. If you're lucky enough to be in the house, you will be witnessing history, as it will be the first time at the professional level that two gold medalists that have each won 2 gold medals in different Olympics will be fighting each other in the main event. As I mentioned, it is going down Saturday night, ESPN. Tickets were sold out within the first 48 hours. So if you were lucky enough to get tickets, doors open right before the first bell, which is at 7:30. There'll be 3 fights streaming live on the ESPN app on the undercard. So if you're not here at the Garden, you can get on your phone or on your computer and watch those undercards streaming live. And then at 9:30 p.m. Eastern Time, switch it on over to ESPN or ESPN Deportes, and you'll be able to see 4 fights live on the broadcast. Special treat for you on ESPN Saturday night. As I mentioned, this is a historic event. In our main event, you have Vasyl Lomachenko, and he'll be defending his title against Guillermo Rigondeaux in a fight that I believe the fight fans, boxing purists everywhere, have really wanted to see for quite some time now. So, before we get into interviewing the fighters, we have a special presentation that would like to happen first. I would first like to introduce Ed Brophy, the Executive Director from the International Boxing Hall of Fame. He has some special presentation to help commemorate this special event. Please welcome Ed Brophy, everybody.
Test. Thank you. The International Boxing Hall of Fame up in Canastota, New York, has always had its mission to preserve boxing history and serve in an educational manner. And this fight is a historical fight. And like the Hall of Fame preserves historical items, we've had the robes of Sugar Ray Leonard, Marvin Hagler, and they won the World Championship, the ring from Madison Square Garden that Ali and Frazier fought in, the gloves that were worn in a 1900 featherweight championship fight. Come Saturday night, the gloves that will be worn in this particular historical fight will be turned over to the Hall of Fame, enshrined and preserved for today's fans and many generations. This is more than a boxing match. When 2 fighters come together to fight for a world championship, holding 2 gold medals behind their career, and now as a pro, this is something that's for all sports fans. And that's why the turnout and watching this fight will be fantastic, because this is about sports. And I want to congratulate both of the fighters for representing boxing and representing sports so well. So we're excited at the Hall of Fame that the gloves will be turned over on that night and preserved for boxing history. It's that important of a fight. It's a magical one, and I wish both fighters the best of luck on Saturday night.
We can bring both fighters up. Ed, this is yours? Roma. Look down and then look up for TV, please. Look up at TV. Straight up there. Everybody good back there? Okay, thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you, Ed. And quickly, I'd also like to bring up to the stage WBO President Paco Valcarcel with something, maybe an early birthday present perhaps, but something he'd like to give to Mr. Bobbier. Paco?
Thank you. Good morning, everybody. Would like to present the plaque for WBO 2017 Promoter of the Year, Mr. Bob Arum. Mr. Bob Arum, we got 168 Ramirez, we got 147, Pacquiao, Horn, You got 140 Crawford, you got one Vasyl Lomachenko, 126 Cortez, and 122 Magdaleno. And it's a great honor for WBO to present this deserved plaque to you, and congratulations for the Battle of the Purest. That would be a great fight. I know you will be celebrating your birthday. We got another present for you, but this is a well done job as a promoter.
The Viagra package, right?
No, give me a break. But we would like to present this beautiful plaque to Mr. Bob Arum, Promoter of the Year, WBO Promoter of the Year 2017. Thank you.
Look at Mikey down, please. Look down. Mikey. Thank you.
Thank you, Paco.
Thank you so much, Paco. And really, thank you for the support. We've had a great year with the WBO, and it's nothing like what's going to happen this coming year with our ESPN megaphone. Boxing is really on the upbeat, and we're going to be doing so many fights on ESPN and so many WBO title fights.
In order for this solid gold card to happen, two teams had to come together to bring their fighters into this historic event. I'd now like to introduce Dino Duva, who is head of Rock Nation Boxing, promoter of Guillermo Rigondeaux. Dino, thank you not only for bringing Guillermo, but for being here with us today for this historic fight. Anything you'd like to say about the event Saturday night?
Yeah, just briefly, I'm just honored and really tickled to death to be associated with this great event and this great main event. I want to thank Bob, Top Rank, ESPN for this great opportunity, Vasyl Lomachenko and Agus for giving Rigo this opportunity to fight for his belt. It's just, what more can be said about this fight? It's one of the greatest matchups on paper that I've ever seen in my life. And I really believe that the fight itself will live up to its expectations. And I also believe that the winner of this fight will be hands down recognized as the best fighter in the world. It's just everything that's gone on with this promotion, this fight. When Bob and I first started talking about it, you know, we obviously talk business, but the thing we couldn't stop talking about was what a historic matchup it is. And it really is what it's all about. It's great for the fans, great for the boxing industry, great for everyone involved, and I'm just proud to be associated with it, and I look forward to a great fight Saturday night. Thank you.
A few things about Bob before I get to him. Today is the 47th anniversary of the very first promotion that Bob Arum ever had here at Madison Square Garden. And the event on Saturday night will mark his 30th event here at the Mecca Boxing MSG. So that in of itself is pretty remarkable, Bob. So at 85 years old for one more day, tomorrow is Bob Arum's birthday. He'll be 86 years old. He hasn't skipped a beat. But you, Bob, have promoted many historic events. Obviously, your first one here being with Muhammad Ali. Where does Saturday night's bout with Lomachenko and Rigondeaux kind of rank for you in terms of historic bouts in your career that you've been a part of?
Well, it's obviously a historic fight. Two great fighters, with two unbelievable pedigrees facing each other. This is a real milestone in boxing. It's recognized by almost everybody associated with boxing as being something very special. And I'm so delighted that it's in Madison Square Garden. You have to understand, you can tell by my voice, I live in Las Vegas. I haven't lived in New York since the 80s, but I'm a New Yorker. As a young man, I went, sat in the rafters for They had a minor league hockey team. You paid 10 cents to watch them play, called the Rovers. And I went to college basketball games in the old garden. And then in the 70s, when they opened this building, New Garden we called it then, I was obviously enamored with it. And then in December of 1970, when I did my first fight here, Ali and Bonavina, it was something special. And whenever I come back to the garden, it's really something special. I mean, the Madison Square Garden is part of my DNA, it's part of Top Rank's DNA, and it will always have that feeling for me and for my company. So the fact that together with Rock Nation, we could put on this magnificent, tremendous event here in Madison Square Garden is something special. And I also want to thank Dino and Rock Nation. Going into this event, I heard terrible stories from other promoters about how they couldn't get along with Rock Nation. The people who were very difficult to deal with. I must say, Dino, this has been a delightful promotion. There hasn't been one problem except for Riggin.
He might be the only problem to your left, right?
I love Guillermo. He's been great.
That means you know.
There hasn't been any problem. It's been really a very, very pleasant promotion.
Before we get started with the fighters up here on the dais, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention a fighter that we have here in the front row, fellow top-ranked fighter and lineal unified 140-pound champion of the world, Terrence Crawford, is in the house, everybody. And speaking of Terrence, Bob, you can probably speak to this. You'll be heading out to Australia after this fight to promote Jeff Horn versus Gary Corcoran for the WBO welterweight championship of the world, and a chance that Terrence Crawford could possibly be fighting the winner of that fight for his 147-pound debut, correct?
No.
Okay, correct.
He's not going because you won't go with him.
Well, you know, it is what it is, married life. What about the fight, Bob?
What about what?
I mean, I know the smile, I know that yeah, exactly. He's still thinking about that Viagra package. I'm talking about the fight that you're leaving to Australia and maybe Crawford fighting the winner of that fight.
Well, yeah. Remember, ESPN is changing the face of boxing. Before ESPN got involved in boxing, it was a relatively parochial matter. There were two premium networks sort of dueling with each other, but two networks that were basically entertainment networks. They kept boxing alive because nobody else would be involved. Now ESPN is alive and well in boxing. This fight will be shown on ESPN for free all over the country, bars and restaurants and in homes. And just to show the commitment to boxing that ESPN has, the fight between Horn and Corcoran for the welterweight championship, the winner which is obligated to fight Terrence Crawford later in the year. That fight will be held on a Wednesday night in Brisbane, Australia. That's equivalent to early Wednesday morning in the United States, difference in time. That fight will be televised live on ESPN, and people want to get up at 6 o'clock in the morning, you can watch it live. Want to sleep a little longer, use your DVR, and then get up and watch it. But the point is, it will be shown on a live basis in the United States, just the way ESPN showed Murata's middleweight championship match live on a Sunday morning in the United States. where in Japan, 30 million of the 90 million Japanese watched that fight live on a Sunday night. So what ESPN is doing is great. They are really joined with boxing. They're behind boxing. It's an absolutely new era, and any so-called executive who wants to fight it and wants to counter-program it, be my guest.
As Bob mentioned, that Horn Corcoran fight will be televised live at 6:30 a.m. Eastern Time on Wednesday. If you want to sleep in, as he mentioned, it'll be replayed in prime time on ESPN2 at 9:30 p.m. Eastern Time on Wednesday. So back to the card at hand. Bob mentioned ESPN. Streaming live on ESPN are our first 3 preliminary bouts. One of the preliminary bouts is up here on stage, one half